Welcome to SIDEBOOB Cinema, your podcast within a podcast. I'm joined once again by the salacious Jonathan Astro.
Pasties on, G-string in place. I'm ready to go. AJ, how are you?
I'm really good and I'm really pumped. I can't wait.
Good.
Hey, you jumped on my intro. I was going to say the seductive AJ.
Ooh.
Oh.
If only they could see me.
Well, so tonight we're doing Showgirls. This is really, to a certain degree, the crown jewel of the Show Us the House oeuvre. So just to get a sense of people's relationship with the film, had you seen this film before?
I've seen it a few times, yeah.
I had not.
Okay, that's great. So we've got totally fresh, but you must have heard about it over the years.
Not really.
Oh,
really?
That's amazing.
That's great. That's great. So it was really, really pure.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I mean, I kind of just want to know everything. So, like,
did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
It's complicated. I think after watching the doco that we also watched, it really, it made me. I did like it, but I also didn't like it.
Well, I think that's a correct response, though.
Yeah,
I think that's the response that the entire world has had.
Good.
Like for decades, and I mean, we're going to take a deep dive on this, but you know, it's been slammed as the worst movie ever made, but then if you view it in a certain way, you have just the most amazing, great time with
your
it.
Pants off. So we also watched, just for context, You Don't Know Me, a 2019 documentary directed by Jeffrey McHale, and I'm going to do my best to get him on this show. I really want to know more about this documentary.
Yeah. Well, is he the guy that also wrote the book about Showgirls?
No, I thought that was a different guy.
Right.
But you know,
but he's interviewed a lot in the doc.
Yeah, I think so. So we will endeavour to get him on the show and to talk about his wonderful documentary, which is about this film.
Well, John, tell me, what the fuck is this movie about?
Okay, well, Nomi Malone, played by Elizabeth Berkley, a girl from different places, she says, hitchhikes to Vegas to make her dreams come true. And as soon as she gets there, she wins and loses all her money, has her bag stolen and is almost hit by a car, and makes a lifelong friend, Molly, and they just move in together. So are you with me? Stay all with me. So anyway, Molly works backstage at the Stardust Hotel's big show, Goddess. And this is where Nomi meets the star of that show, Crystal Connors, played by Gina Gershon. She's the woman who has everything that Nomi has ever wanted. Meanwhile, Nomi is grinding away down at the Cheetah, a sleazy topless dive. So Crystal begins to troll Nomi fairly early on, turning up at the Cheetah with her boyfriend, Zach Carey, played by, he's the entertainment director at the Stardust Hotel, and he's played by Kyle MacLachlan. Now, Crystal pays $500 for Nomi to give him a lap dance in one of the film's standout scenes. And Crystal's mission seemingly is to show her that she's just a glorified sex worker. So that begins their thread. Crystal pulls some strings and lands an audition for Nomi in Goddess, which Nomi aces, then blows when she refuses to ice her nipples. Turns out they liked her spunk, though, and she lands the gig anyway in Goddess. So Nomi begins her campaign of revenge against Crystal, seducing Zach and landing the role as Crystal's understudy. When Crystal has the offer rescinded, Nomi pushes her down the stairs between musical numbers, causing her serious injuries and forcing her to quit the show. So Nomi's on top of the world. She has the lead role, and her and Molly go to a after party thrown by Zach to celebrate. Now, Molly is sexually assaulted by a crooner called Andrew Carver, sort of a Las Vegas celebrity. Nomi wants Zach to report Carver, but he covers it up and says they can't jeopardize the business relationship that they have with him. He may play one day at the casino. Meanwhile, he's also uncovered her big secret, that Nomi is actually Pollyanna Costello, a firebrand hooker with a long rap sheet. Nomi reaches out to Carver and he invites her over to the hotel thinking they're going to hook up, and Nomi gets to jump on him and bashes him senseless in revenge for Molly's rape. She says her goodbyes to Molly, Crystal, and Vegas and hits the road again. That's Showgirls. What did we make of it all?
Is there something wrong with your nipples? They're not sticking up. Play with them a little.
And he did
You want
that
me to do it?
creepy hand gesture.
Oh, yes. Tony Moss.
Yeah. What about when he goes, show us your tits. Come on, ladies. I run a topless show. Show us your tits.
Yeah.
Very
It's
nice.
It
unrepentant. It's unrepentant.
really
figure.
is.
You know, just you know, I don't know, like, because it's hard to say if that, because you might have the question now. I went to Vegas just before Corona. I love Vegas, by the way, and I thought this movie captured it quite well. But you wonder, is that stuff still going on? You know, like because presumably back then you just go, oh yeah, that's pretty much what I thought was going on. But do you reckon now they've cleaned up their act a bit?
Nah.
No.
I don't know.
The shows were exactly like Goddess, though.
Were they?
Like, yeah, I fucking love Las Vegas. AJ, have you been to Vegas?
No, I've never been.
It was fantastic. It's fucking fantastic. Hey, if you don't like Vegas, you are dead inside. Like, now I'm not talking about going there and
Becoming a showgirl.
or becoming a showgirl, or you know, it's not like going to the capital or anything and learning anything about like history. But at the same time, it's probably the most American part of America. It's because it's you know, the land. It's in a sense, it's the land of Donald Trump and all of the excess. It's there. Like just there are poor little Mexican people, like old grandmas, handing out like cards with call girls on them. I have some,
Really?
I have some that I use for bookmarks with their phone numbers on there, and like they.
Has it got their mugshot on there too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And a mutual friend of ours said that he went there to Vegas once. We're going off track now, but he went to Vegas once, and he was with some pretty loose people, and like one loose guy got a hooker, like, or something. And he said, he goes, I called the number and the girl on the card came to the door.
Wow. He didn't
So
get catfished.
No. So I guess I think that's Vegas. That to me feels like Vegas. But yeah, anyway, this movie is outrageous. So AJ, did you watch this alone or did you watch it with Frank?
I did. I watched it alone today,
Okay.
but I will watch it again with Frank.
I think this is the kind of film you need to watch with other people because it's so outrageous. You need to laugh with someone, you know,
It's a real festival film.
It is, yeah, and it's become like a midnight movie, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Which would be awesome that people know the lines and yeah.
But even a lot of the gestures, like some of it comes down to Elizabeth Berkley, like, and she's been completely slammed for her bad acting, but a lot of it was Verhoeven's directing to make everything over the top and every kind of body movement aggressive, and you see that in the first 5 minutes of the film. You know, she sticks her thumb out, she hitches a ride with that guy into Vegas, and he's a bit of a sleazy guy. Says, "Oh, you can sit a bit closer." And what does she do? She pulls out a fucking knife.
No, but how does she pull it out?
Yeah, exactly. How does she pull it out? She pulls it out in the most dramatic way.
She goes like you know, and you like the sort of stuff you do on stage, like when you're in West Side Story, you know, like you go bam, and you pull out, you do a little flourish when you pull it out. My direction to her would be, okay, it's a knife. You don't need to like do a big movement. Like the knife is the scary thing.
But even her dancing, you don't know if she's a good dancer or not, really. Like most of the movie, I just felt confused.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think everyone felt confused.
But I don't know anything about dancing. So, you know, I look at this type of dancing and I go, I don't know. Like it seems like this sort of choreographed sort of, you know, because Prince's backup dancers and that do this sort of shit.
Yeah.
You know, Like they and you just go, oh yeah, and there's a whole industry and it's a whole appreciation for it, but I just don't know what I'm looking at, and so to see it in this context is really outrageous. Like, but you think of those hand movements that she does in front of her face, the little hand thing.
And she did those at the 20th anniversary screening.
She did, yeah.
She was taking the piss.
Can I say, she looked really hot in that
she did.
anniversary thing.
She looked better.
Yeah. Like
She's aged really well.
Healthy. She looked really healthy, and she had like a natural body and stuff. And I was like, oh wow, this is perfect. Milford-tronic.
Well, just back on that really aggressive sort of movements and reactions that she does. It is a very stage thing to do, because when you're on stage, you've got to project way into the audience, to the back seat. So, and I remember seeing Tim Curry once talk about this, about Rocky Horror Picture Show, like because he'd been playing it on stage, and then when they made the film of it, like he was making all these movements way too big, because that's what you do on the stage, because it has to read, all the way out the back. But then the director said, no, listen, we're going to be this close to you, because everyone's, because we're filming it, everyone's going to see you this close. So,
and that is the job
a little bit
of the director. And I think it was, I forget who directed that movie, Jim Sheridan or someone like that. And I feel like that is the job of the director. You need to be there to guide the actors and to say, and to let them, because they don't know. You tell them unless they've been in 60 movies, that you need to go, okay, yeah, we are really close to you, or you need to remind them that show don't tell. Don't just do something, stand there. Like you need to just give them all those cues all the time, unless you are going for something really heightened. And Verhoeven says that some of this was he's sort of alleging now that a lot of it was intentional, but
bullshit.
I get the feeling that he wanted it to be serious.
Yeah, I call total bullshit on that.
Well, Verhoeven also says, and I have a quote here. Sorry, Esterhaus always says that he maintains that the humour was intentional. I got a quote here. What Paul Verhoeven and I had in mind was something darkly funny. We went through the script line by line and we were really laughing at some of it. I defy people to tell me that a line like, how does it feel not to have anybody coming on you anymore, isn't meant to be funny.
After he touches her cheek lovingly and then delivers that line, I was floored. My jaw dropped.
Well, I thought about this, because I could talk about this. I love these. It's what I call an impossible object. Like an Escher painting. You just can't. Like a bit like Jade in a way. You can't quite fix it, and in your mind. And so, I love to try and fix these things. I wonder. I believe Esterhaus. I think that the dialogue. There is definitely humor, intentional humor in the film, and Gina Gershon has been lauded for sort of getting it in a way, and meeting the script's demands in that way. I think that you could fix it. The difference is, because Basic Instinct's got some outrageous lines in it, but the difference is it's a very cold and sterile movie, in the way it's been shot and everything, and it doesn't have the paper mache volcano and all the color and lights, and it doesn't have Vegas. It's a completely different milieu. Also, I know I feel sorry for Elizabeth Berkley, because I think she's been maligned. However, she's not Sharon Stone. Let's be frank. She's not Sharon Stone, and this film required a fucking Herculean performance that she was not able to deliver. She's a sitcom actor.
You don't think if she had toned it down, it would have been
acceptable, but it wouldn't have been. There are times when there's just, this is big, because I've seen her do Normal. She's in Any Given Sunday, Oliver Stone film, as a call girl, and she's quite subdued in that, and so you get a sense in that film of what she would have been like if she toned it down, and you go, oh yeah, she'd be acceptable. But she doesn't have. This is brutal, but she doesn't have that thing. Now, I've heard I heard this from maybe Joe Esterhaus in one of the interviews, and this I went, yes, he reckons that it would have been different with Madonna, and I totally agree. I totally agree.
They tried to get Madonna.
Yeah, well, she's a fucking great actress.
Yeah.
And she's got that thing. And she kind of did all this with erotica, you know what I mean? Like, so she's up for it. She's up for it now, and maybe she shouldn't be. But that's not here nor there.
But don't you think she did suit the naive fish out of water sort of thing? You
Pollyanna.
know, with the Pollyanna, the going to the Versace store and, you know, getting the name wrong, calling it Versace, all that sort of shit.
Absolutely.
You know?
But what does that matter if you don't suit the back end of the story? Like, or you don't like. That's all I feel like, you know. That's why this is so complex, you know, because I think that she's gotten too much hate, but she deserves a little bit of it. A lot. Same with Kyle MacLachlan. Like, he somehow has avoided a lot of hate. Like, he's the one who said, like, oh, it was a terrible movie, and like, you know, I sat through it and it was terrible. I'm like, come on, Kyle, did you go to the dailies, mate? Your stuff was not good. You know, like, you were camping it up. You had no excuse. You know what I mean? She's 22.
Well, he came out of it pretty unscathed, didn't he?
He did. A few people did. You know, I would say, you know, random people like Robert Darby came unscathed, and Kyle MacLachlan definitely. But if you bit part people, but yeah, Berkeley was just like destroyed, and it is sad. You just go, oh man, that's brutal. Like, you know, watch the doco, and you feel a bit of something for her there. The pile-on was terrible.
Yeah, she lost her agent as soon as the movie came out and the reviews came out, and she could not get another one.
Oh, wow. And you got to thank God that the internet wasn't so big then. Jesus Christ.
Well, maybe it would have become a cult classic quicker. I don't know. Like, because it now does exist. There is a unique genre in its own right, I think. And there's Showgirls, there's a movie called Valley of the Dolls, which I haven't seen, and another one called Mummy Dearest, which I have seen.
Amazing.
They're all films where female characters kind of climb their way to the top, and they're both camp, and I think they both suffer from failed seriousness. So they try to be serious, but they don't succeed in doing that. And I think this film is like anti-realist. It's like hyper stylized, and yeah, it has become a genre in its own right, I think.
Well, I got big words. I think I love this movie. Like,
Well, we know all Pike does, so I'm glad that you admitted it, Astro.
I think I love this movie. Like, and for so many reasons. Like, because I was there when it was a new release. Obviously, I didn't see the movie; it's too young. But as soon as it came to video, I just watched it a bunch of times. And it was, that was a good experience. But I've seen it a lot over the years, and now I think it's really special. Now, this is, I think I heard Kanye say something about, like, people were tearing into some rapper who'd come up with a song, one of these songs, Soulja Boy or one of these things, and he was like, this song does everything a rap song should do. He's like, it's got a great hook. It created a dance. It's created new language. It's like done everything. Like, and I feel the same way about Showgirls. Like, it's kind of done everything a movie should do. Like, and you need to look at the claims. Like, the claim that it's a failure. You say, yeah, okay, with reviewers in the 90s, sure. But it's got an audience who fucking love the film. You could say, oh, it was a failure, and you say, well, not really. It was made for 40 to 45 million. Yeah, sure. It underperformed at the box office, 37 million, but it went on to gross 100 million on home video and rentals. And as of 2014, the film is still one of MGM's highest selling movies.
Wow,
it's in the top 20 all time bestsellers.
What?
Yeah.
So the claim that it's financially unsuccessful is bunk, totally bunk. So forget it. So what are we talking about? That
blows my mind.
People love this movie. Okay, it's done everything a movie should do. Like, I watched it, and it was hilarious. It was outrageous. It was offensive. It was a little bit sexy, but like anti-erotic as well. It's bizarre. It's fucking bizarre. Like, it's bizarre. The tone changes are bizarre.
Yeah.
And then ultimately it manages with all audacity to be frank with you, get you emotionally if you will let it. It got me like at the very, there's something between her and Crystal that is nice. But there was a couple of tiny moments where I was like, well, I actually felt something. I was in it. Yeah. You know what I mean? At the very end, and so I feel like people need to maybe just have a rethink, So I don't know. Like I just had a great time, and I just thought it was it was delicious.
Well, in Hollywood, Verhoeven was understood by the critics as a satirist, but only as long as like the subject was violence, like RoboCop's about, police overreach and police violence and stuff like that. And critics sort of got that. But as soon as he goes full into territory of like erotic sex and sex industry and making links between Hollywood and
commerce and
sex and exploitation and and the fact that really there's not much difference between the girls dancing at the Stardust and the girls dancing at the Cheetah Club, and for that matter the girls that dance for what's his face, James, the dance for his fucking choreography shows, I mean he gets up on his high horse, because he's the highbrow form of dance. But then when you see his fucking show, it's like it's not that much different from any of the other dancing we see in this movie,
Well, Verhoeven's European, so we've talked about this. He has said plainly what you can't say in Hollywood, and he's like, I don't understand why sex is criminal in Hollywood, and I don't understand why nudity and sex are. And any representation of it that even approaches frankness or even hyper real or whatever, it doesn't matter how you approach it. It's criminal, and this is true. This is true. And he's talked about in one of the recent interviews, they were talking about the Showgirls, and he was saying that he feels that the movies now are all PG. They want to get more people in, so you've completely eradicated R-rated and definitely NC-17, which is what this film was, but R-rated, you get rid of that by getting rid of all the sex. And that's why John Wick, look at John Wick. I've talked about John Wick every fucking week. I talk about this movie because John Wick is completely sexless. All these Disney movies are completely sexless. You want to know what Disney's doing? So I'm not like, obviously I'm going to defend Showgirls for various reasons, but if you want to look at what Disney's doing, go to Disney Plus and watch Splash, and you will see the moment where Daryl Hannah runs into the ocean, you will see them. You can see this on the internet. They've CG'd her hair down to cover her butt crack.
No,
they have. I'm fucking serious. Okay, this is what they do. Disney, look at those Star Wars sequels. Well, thankfully some of you people haven't seen them, but they are totally sexless. They like that. Disney thinks that romance, like swashbuckling romance and sex, or two humans like kissing or like hinting, even in kids movies, hinting at the adult world, like like in The Princess Bride, is this kissing stuff, like all that stuff that we just take for granted. Disney thinks that is disgusting. They think it's fucking disgusting, and that is anti-human. And
it's so
creepy.
Strange. Yeah, it's very strange.
Well, I've mentioned this on our Friday show that I took my son to see a recent Disney movie called Raya and the Last Dragon, and there were virtually no male characters in it. It's all female characters. So you couldn't have any sort of, princess sort of romance or tension or back and forth or anything like you get a hint of in other kids' Disney movies. You get a hint of the adult world, as you say, and this didn't have any of that. And I'm shocked to hear about Splash.
Well, it's real, man. That's what's going on out there. So Verhoeven's right, and look, I'll wrap up this part of it by just saying, like, get your ideas about it. Like, I don't pine for the past. I'm a big believer in the now and the future, like, because you don't want to be one of these fucking people just sitting around like talking about Back to the Future all the time. Like, fuck, just get on with it. All right. But at the same time, is it just me, or is this era like that we're living in now so strikingly different to, like, I feel like in the past, actually people would say that the 70s was really different to the 60s or whatever, but I feel like the difference between now and the 90s is really marked because of the internet and social media. Like, 1995, which I remember well, seems like it was it was a mysterious time, or the last of the mysterious times, because, and this film's come from that, purpose built for those times. There was this obsession with, there was mainstream media only, those mainstream media sources. There was an obsession with the effect of the media on this one-way relationship between the media, like Natural Born Killers and Scream, and Story of the Girls who went, like, some girl went and killed someone. She watched Scream, killed someone, now she's trapped in the movie, whatever. Like, there was this whole thing about mass media and its relationship to people. And then there was like this obsession with sexual transgression, like Basic Instinct, Disclosure, like, all how sex was bad and whatever. There was AIDS. I think there's a line in this about everyone's got AIDS and shit. So it's like, all these examinations of sex and gender. So I don't know, but also cinema was audacious. It was a competition back then of who could make the most daring film, who could make the most daring, successful film. Do you know what I mean? Like, who can do the best Marvel Extended Universe crossover?
because we know we're going to make money from it.
Who can tell the wokest teen show? Stories on Netflix. So now, I don't know. Like, I just feel like when I watch this movie, I see it as really special, and I'm late to the party because who was there on the fucking ground floor? Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, I've got a quote.
Yeah, give me the quote.
So Tarantino stated that he enjoyed Showgirls, referring to it in 1996 as the only other time in the last 20 years that a major studio made a full-on, gigantic, big-budget exploitation movie, comparing it to Mandingo.
Yeah, well, I applaud, like, I know what he's getting at here. Like, you need the conspiracy against daring and audacious things, ideas, non-conservative creative ideas is real. And so when you see a movie that is fantastic and it shouldn't have been made, a bit like, if in a different way, Blade Runner 2049, I watched that and I was like, oh my God, this is a real movie. How were they allowed to make this movie? And it'll never happen again. It's like a once only deal, because once they get wind that they've been duped, they shut it down. The Joker, they made The Joker, and although it was ripping off a bunch of other good movies from the 70s, still it was a great movie, subversive and good. It will never happen again. The second one, they'll do it. It'll be terrible. It'll be like, it'll just be like Slimer driving the bus in Ghostbusters 2. He's one of the Ghostbusters now. Like it'll be fucking ridiculous. So you need to appreciate, as Tarantino has, at the time, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe that this movie got made, because it's an exploitation movie. It's so big and expensive, and it's everything about it is beyond the pale.
Yeah. If you enjoy what we do here on the New Flesh podcast, there are a number of ways you can contribute to the success of the show. Consider supporting us financially by becoming a Patreon member and donating monthly or yearly. Alternatively, you can donate money through the Buy Me a Coffee platform. If you're strapped for cash at this point in time, there are a number of other ways to support the New Flesh. You can give us a rating or review through Apple Podcasts. These help others to find our show and help spread the word. Or you can tell your friends about us. Don't underestimate the power of a podcast recommendation. And now, back to the show. Let's get a little bit more focused here. I want to talk about mirrors. So there are lots of mirrors in this movie, and John, maybe you can talk about maybe the references there that I'm not aware of. But there's so many mirrors in this movie, and because the characters in this film, their appearance really matters, and the narcissism is huge, but also I guess it's making a commentary that's holding up a mirror to society, blah blah blah. But there's just amazing shots, like when she goes to get that Versace dress, and obviously the mirrors in the dressing room. But there seem to be mirrors in the strip club as well. But there seems to be mirrors like in every second fucking scene,
Well, it's dazzling. It's dazzling for the eye. It works thematically. Yeah, absolutely. That I really got the sense of vanity this time. I was like, oh, wow, it is a place that is obsessed with aesthetics and how you look all the time, So,
but also like the cheetah and the stardust, they're like mirror images of each other. Then you get the opening scene and the end scene, they're mirrors of each other.
I love the opening scene and the ending scene.
I think Verhoeven's like he's put a lot of effort into the structuring devices in the film, you know.
Absolutely. Well, you can't make the claim that it's junk. It doesn't work, doesn't hold up. Like you can say tonally he blew it, which is, you know what? Like that is very easy to do. For a lot of reasons. You don't know what you've got. This is an alchemical process. But so I understand tonally, and that's instructions to actors. That's casting and instructions to actors and a couple of other things. Okay. Tonally, you can blow it. But everything else can be perfectly, and that's always when these movies stick out, when everything else is like, it looks great, it sounds great, the locations are great, and then these performances are just totally bizarre. And that's what we've kind of got here, you know, a grab bag of really strange performances, and particularly headed up by Berkeley's one. But you can't make the claim that it doesn't that the filmmaking is not good, and that because Verhoeven's, I've got a book on Verhoeven, and this, all of the shots in this movie, just that Basic Instinct, include all the sex scenes, everything, storyboarded down to they didn't just let it play. Like, you know what I mean? Like these are all heavily storyboarded.
Well, you see that in the documentary. You see these hand-drawn, pencil-drawn shots, even of the strip teasers and stuff like that, you know. I
love the way he draws like women in his storyboards as well. It's great. like just so much detail on the butt and the boobs and stuff. You know, like, yeah,
well, he loves it. He admits that he just loves it.
He does love it. And I think maybe because he's a bit Euro. Well, actually, he's an old guy, so he's gotten away with it in different times.
He's Dutch too, and you know, have you ever been to Amsterdam?
Never.
It's another world.
So presumably, the Dutch have a different relationship with sex.
Well, they're just more relaxed about it, I guess. You know, I mean, they famously have the red light district where the hookers are just in these glass boxes, and you just walk around and you pick the one you want, you know.
Yes, very good. Well, so AJ, that brings me on to our segment, as we like to do.
Oh God,
keeper or creeper.
This week's pretty easy.
No, well, come on, don't commit too early, because I've got some good candidates for you. Okay, so there's maybe three I think that it could be appropriate. So we've got Robert Darby as Al Torres. Now, he's salt of the earth. You know, he's a bit of a straight shooter. He's sort of a business owner at the Cheetah. You know, he's when I say he's a straight shooter, he'll let you know. Like, you know, he says to one of the chicks, he says, "They want class, dum dum. They don't want to fuck a Penny. They want to fuck a Heather or a Tiffany or a Hope." So he doesn't play games, you know. But you know, he says you have to blow him to keep your job, but I don't know. So that could be a joke, but it might not be. So keeper or creeper?
I just thought of Goonies. Creeper.
Right. Creeper. I love that none of that was enough to call him a creeper. It was just he was a creeper in Goonies as well.
He's always a bad guy.
Have you seen License to Kill? He's in that Bond film too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
He's terrifying in that movie.
Anyway, next up, Glenn Plummer as James Smith. So he's a bouncer, a bellhop, and an independent artist. So he gets around. Not a career-focused individual, but he is creative. He's got integrity. He says to Nomi at one point, "I saw you. Everybody got AIDS and shit. What is it you think you do? You fuck him without fucking him. That's what you do. Well, it ain't right. You got too much talent for it to be right. Bitch, I'm telling you the truth." So that's what he says.
Right.
But he moves on quick, so you got to be fast. Keeper or creeper?
I was really upset with him. He disappointed me. He got me in the feels. I was sad that he was such a jerk.
He might be a keeper.
Well, I wouldn't say he's a keeper. He did say we could put a towel down so he could fuck her in a period.
Gentleman. A gentleman.
Absolute gentleman.
Well, he does marry the women he impregnates. So.
Well, there you go. He's a man
so I'm
of
kind of
integrity.
on the fence.
Okay, well, maybe we'll put him on the maybe pile.
Yeah.
Finally, we have the real prize here. This is Kyle MacLachlan as Zach Carey, the entertainment director at the Stardust Hotel. Again, a successful man, snappy dresser, stylish haircut, which he does. What do you think of a man with a big fringe?
He rocks it.
He does.
That was a very 90s thing.
He enjoys champagne and frolicking in his lavish pool. Neon palm trees included. So, keeper or creeper?
Free drugs.
I didn't even think about that. Drugs. That's true. And he does buns as well. Like you see his buns when he's walking.
That's true.
Rock hard buns.
Creeper.
Okay, well, that's keeper or creeper. Unfortunately, there were no takers this week. Although James did come close to being a keeper. Unfortunately, as with Flashdance, I think these are all creepers.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Doggy Chow?
Yes. I love Doggy Chow.
This is a famous scene where Crystal takes Nomi out for lunch at some lavish place, and they just have the most bizarre conversation with each other about a few things, but about eating dog food. How Nomi doesn't know what to order. She's looking at the menu and she's just like, I don't know what this is. She's like, I'll order for you. And she's like, what, you want brown rice and vegetables, which is what the choreographer suggests all the dancers eat to keep their weight down. And so she asks if she likes brown rice and vegetables, and then Nomi says, I think it tastes like dog food. And then Crystal says, I've eaten dog food. I used to love Doggy Chow, blah, blah, blah. So they're talking about eating dog food.
A biscuit or a wet food?
I think it's a biscuit. Food. No, I think it's a biscuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Like a kibble,
Why is kibble such a great word? Kibble.
It is good. And then Crystal says, basically says, you're a whore, different from me. We're all whores. We're selling it, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, they cheers their chips together. And for some reason, chips plays a big part. In this film, it's mentioned all the time when Nomi is hanging out at home with Molly. They're always talking about chips for some bizarre reason. So they cheers their chips at the end.
That's just bad writing.
You think so?
No, and Kay could back this up because food is one of the big crimes of bad writing. Like for some reason, like food talk is something you generally ban. Like as an editor, you go, okay, we're banning all food talk. So inexperienced writers, not that Joe sounds really experienced, but we all, sort of go back to old settings. So when you're moving quickly or not thinking about it, your first draft of things, you'll always do food talk. And
but it's intentional though, because they mentioned the brown rice and vegetables a bunch of times. They mentioned the chips a bunch of times.
Many.
And they mentioned the fingernails as well a bunch of times. So
the nails I can sort of buy. I can't buy the food. I just can't. Like, because the chips, it's ridiculous. Like, why is Nomi so excited? She said, "Did you eat the chips? You did. You did." And I'm like, Jesus, he's manic and crazy about these chips.
But she's kind of like that about everything, though.
Yeah,
she is.
It's her enthusiasm for everything that
she's kind of bipolar.
Bizarre. Well, that's the other thing. Like, you could read it as that she is just fucking crazy. Like she has a chemical imbalance,
It does seem like a documentary about a crazy chick. Like the way she eats, the way she fucks is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just extreme. Everything's so extreme.
It's not just over the top. It's past the stratosphere.
Yeah.
It's just like that cute meet with her friend at the beginning is
crazy.
Incredible. She runs out, beating up a car that is not hers. And then Molly runs up and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then she said, "Get the fuck off me." And then she immediately turns around and goes, "What?" And just throws up. And then she goes, "What?" And then she Molly tries to console her again. And she goes, "Get away from me," and runs into the road. And then she pulls her back from getting hit by a car. And then they have their little love-in moment. I'm like, this woman is crazy. This woman's crazy. Or throwing the chips, different places.
Yeah.
You know, like why? Are you okay? Are you okay?
Well, you know, you can't look away from this movie, or else you're going to miss something huge.
Definitely,
because everything is huge all the time.
Yes. Well, even the bit parts are diabolical. So, like the hustler at the start, the guy in the car, he's ridiculous. Like, what's wrong with his face? Like, is he wearing lipstick? I don't get it.
Is he an Elvis impersonator?
Fucking rockabilly bullshit. What is that? The sleazebag in the casino, he's ridiculous straight away. One of the first things that happens, he comes up to Nomi. She's a slot machine. And he goes, "You lose all your money, honey. You want to make some more? Won't take any more than 15 minutes. And sooner or later, you're going to have to sell it."
That's true, though.
Ridiculous.
That's what happens, though, right?
That's what happens, though, is your answer. Well, anyway,
he predicted the whole movie.
He did. But it's like, it's just there are no small parts in this. Everyone is bonkers. Like, everyone is fucking bonkers. You know, like even the entertainment guy, Tony Moss or whatever, you know. What classes have you done? And she reels off all the classes, and he goes, "The show's called Goddess. They ain't called classes."
but so this is when he's got the girls lined up and he's going to cut them, right? Or let them continue in the audition. And he says to one of the chicks, he says, "Come back when you fuck some of that baby fat off." That is the most extreme thing.
That's Tony C from Flashdance. That is totally all of his lines. The fucking that cook, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of over the top, now AJ, you messaged us about this today. You were like, "What the fuck is up with that rape scene?"
Jesus Christ.
You get, it's probably one of the most brutal rapes. Like, I haven't seen many films that have rape scenes, or not ones that you see explicitly.
The worst one is Irreversible. That's the worst one.
Well, I haven't seen that, but this one, you know, it's not long, but it's fucking full on, and
it goes to 11 straight away.
I know it does. See,
he punches her straight away, just like bang, and you go, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
So he brings his buddies in for a bit of a fuck sesh, and then she turns around and goes, "What's happening?" And then bang, just gets punched in the face, and the rape is on. And I think the biggest problem is
on.
The rape is on. Is on. I hope not.
Hey, I'm not endorsing rape at all. Okay.
All right. Okay.
But
don't get hot about it.
The film doesn't set you up for any of this. You know, I feel like a scene like that needs about 40 minutes of setup before they hit you with it, you know.
I don't think the beat is wrong either. I think that Molly does need that kind of thing does need to happen to Molly. It's the severity. It's the severity and the intensity that's the problem.
Poor Molly was the only good character in the whole fucking movie.
No. But in terms of the story, what needs to happen in the story, like I feel like that's brilliant though. She was the only good person, and that's what this place, you know, this center of commerce and sex and, you know, sell is going to do to nice people.
Definitely.
So it just needed to be more like, there's a similar scene in Straw Dogs from the 70s, one of the more famous. Again, they're all controversial, all these rape things, but a guy, has sex with a chick, and then, like, you know, his mates come in, and it's you know, dare I say, it was shocking at the time, and you know, threatened with cuts and everything like that, same sort of deal, but it's certainly, dare I say, more artful than this scene, which is just like, it's too hard, too much. You don't need, I wouldn't even thought, you just don't need the punches, Like,
No.
it also means he's fucking stupid as well. Like, he's just like tapped, and I think that ruins it. He's got to be like what we know about some of these Hollywood guys, like they I don't know, like they push the envelope. But if they're coming out like Patrick Bateman straight away, like
Seriously,
punching
yeah.
people, like they're smarter than that, unfortunately, in that they are more Machiavellian. He just needed to push it a little bit further. He didn't need to beat the hell out of her and hold her down and like do all this stuff and say all the mad shit he said. It just needed to be like, I don't know, just less. And and her stumbling out. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I know what he's done there. That's Passion of the Christ stuff. And you know, on one level it's too much. On another level, I know what Verhoeven's going for there. He was going to be a very religious guy, and he's got a huge theologian. He's got a lot of interest in religious imagery and whatever. So he would have seen her coming out with all that blood and everything as religious imagery. And he would have said, and so I get that, like, you know, and that's why we get, you know, that's, you brought this up at the beginning, Ricky. You said that, you know, we like it when he does it in violence and sci-fi. We don't like it here. And here's a perfect analogy. So, well, rather reference. So, Verhoeven's theologian or sort of background gives us RoboCop at the end walking across water to the climax, and he wanted that to be. He saw RoboCop as being Jesus, you know, someone who sacrificed and comes back, and you know, we get that wonderful image of him walking across water, and that we love it there. We think, we go, yes, that's okay, good man, good artist, good, and then he does it here. And we go, too much, awful, you're terrible, you're the worst human being ever. And you go, well, you liked it before.
Do you think it could have worked though if we didn't see the rape? Like,
yes,
we just
and
saw
him tonguing
we saw
her.
the conclusion.
He says
The probing tongue.
Absolutely. You don't need to see it. You don't need to. We get it. Like, but he would argue, you know, that this is, maybe he would have argued that this is important. You know, why should I shield you from this horror of this?
Yeah.
You know?
In a way, it's a little bit similar to the S&M rape dance number that happens in the Stardust Hotel. There's that everyone's in the leather chaps and all that sort of stuff, and they basically, isn't it Crystal Connors that gets kind of raped in that in inverted commas in that dance scene?
Yes. Okay.
I don't know if that's intentional, trying to sort of link those worlds, or
anyway, it derails the movie, and
it does.
Like, and her revenge is bizarre as well. Like, you know, again, she pulls out that fucking switchblade. You know,
yeah.
Like, even in this 90s, switchblades weren't a thing.
No.
Like, you know, they were. It's the 50s or something. Like,
you know what it makes me think of?
That was the 90s.
Yeah, butterfly knives. It makes me think of that scene in Crocodile Dundee. You know, that's not a knife. This is a knife. You know.
Yeah, but she's got an old-fashioned greaser one. You know, with the curled, you know, hilt.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
But I know exactly what you mean, that it did have to be Molly. We wouldn't have cared as much. It was a gut punch.
Well, I think that's also the catalyst for Nomi to leave Vegas too.
Yeah.
Like, she kicks that dude's ass, and then
Has to bail.
She kind of moves on.
Yes, but you know, if they could have got it right, we would have really cared, and her, you know, because her thread with Molly, if I put it on the wall, all the cards on the wall, if I said, okay, they meet here, you know, Molly introduces her to Crystal and Goddess, and then, like, if you track the whole thread, it needs some work. You know what I mean? Like, just a few nips and tucks to really get us, because actually you're meant to really feel that betrayal when she because she sees her push Crystal. Yeah, you know, you meant to really feel something, but something's not quite there, I think. But also because they didn't work hard at the beginning. That's the problem, is that, you know, their cute meet, they met in 2 seconds, and then it says 6 weeks later or whatever, and then they're living together. That's unacceptable.
Their friendship is so weird.
It is weird.
Like, it's very strangely written.
They could have been working together. They needed to, their run-in needed to be, I don't know, more. But then again, I know what they would say, that because the Joe and Verhoeven have both said that they did, unlike some of their other movies, they did huge amount of face-to-face research, not just going to titty bars, but they interviewed sex workers and strippers and call girls and showgirls, and they did huge amounts of research. So I reckon that a lot of this stuff, and this is why, you know, you got to be careful with real life, is because, you know, maybe that was a story that they heard, like that. Oh yeah, this chick came in down and immediately got into a fight, and then she threw up, and then she almost got hit by a car, and you just go, yeah, dude, let's not do that.
It's too unbelievable.
Well, and yeah, it is. That's the thing. I always say that when something happens in your life, you go, oh man, if I put this in a script, it wouldn't go, because it's not feasible. So not going to work.
And you couldn't tell if they were lovers or friends, and like their relationship was strange.
People seem to like the LGBT aspect of this movie. You know, it does have a celebrated sort of. There's a lot of people who really enjoy, like her and Crystal, for instance, and you know, probably see Nomi as, you know, there are a range of characters. There's other girls at the Cheetah, who they're also lesbian friends.
Yeah.
Well, it has been said that Nomi's sort of experience of being of not having any family or being ostracized and having to find your own family and move somewhere and reinvent yourself is very much akin to the gay experience. Where, especially in previous generations, where if you were gay in a small town, that wouldn't work for you. You know, like you'd be ostracized. You'd have to move away, reinvent yourself, and find your own friends who become your family. So I can see why sort of gay people see her story and her journey as,
well, it's certainly an antiquated view now, because that, you know, that view of the gay experience is now being totally deep sixed by everything Stonewall's doing, you know? Which is a completely different thing. You know? Entirely.
Also, she's not, and this will be controversial, like she's not afraid to use her sexuality as a tool, as like a means to an end. And I know, you know, it's not popular to talk about women's sexual power these days, but
go on.
But you can see that's kind of, when she gets to Vegas, that's really all she has as a tool, you know. She doesn't have much of a backstory, but you can tell that she probably doesn't have much higher education under her belt, you know.
She can't pronounce Versace.
She can't, no. I don't know. There are some dumb people out there that probably have no idea what Versace is and would pronounce it as Versace.
And something else. Wasn't there another word that she mispronounced?
Well, she eats like a dummy.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, the food is
What do you
ridiculous.
mean? Sucking on a ring pop.
I love the ring pop. I love the ring pop. That's one of my favorite bits.
Yeah, it's good.
I watch that and I just go, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's real. That's probably hers. So she brought that day, you know?
You know, I won one of those in grade 3 for a colouring in competition.
Hey, look at you go.
Yeah, look at me go. Look at me now. But the way she eats the burger in the car that's racing down the alleyway, she's not wearing a fucking seatbelt, you know.
They're both not looking at the road.
Yeah.
She's just manic. She's just a manic lunatic.
Crazy.
Again, she is a little bit like Jennifer Beals. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
a little bit. Like, you know, just sort of a bit loose. And again, probably one of the most attractive type of women to men, and the most poisonous.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, for sure. Did you notice that it wasn't enough just to be naked in this film? The characters had to talk about being naked all the time whilst being naked.
Yes, they did. Also, a lot of bush as well.
Yes.
Like, or
I was going to mention the George Bush.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of bush.
Yeah.
Like, and that's quite extraordinary, because I feel like, you know, even though pornography is quite ever present now, still, you know, mainstream films and even TV shows, seeing just a chick walking toward, you know, with bush out, like ScarJo in Under the Skin, is a shock. Like, it takes Under the Skin. It takes an art film to do it. Whereas this is a mainstream, exploitation film where she's just rocking the, like walking striding with it out, all out. Like that's not done. People lose their minds. People just go, oh my God, that is, again, disgusting. They're like, that's disgusting. And you go, wait, John Wick just killed 300 guys. I know, that's fucking beautiful. I know, but look, her bush is out. Disgusting.
I told you about the David Tennant in that serial killer show.
Yes.
And the BBC got more calls about him smoking than him being a serial killer.
Mm.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's weird.
It says everything. Like people are so selective with their moral opprobrium.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, well, as we know, we talked about this again and again in American cinema. The rules are, you can hit someone with a chair, you just can't fuck them on it. That's the thing, because it's like, and sex is criminalized. It's just completely beyond the pale, and I don't know. I think it's creepy. It's creepy. Like you don't need to be full Euro and just be like, I don't know, walk around the house naked and stuff and whatever. Like, but
that's real life.
It is real life
at the same time.
No, it is, but you don't need to be full Euro. You don't need to go full Euro, but it is real life. And whereas some of these American films, it's creepy when you behave like Carrie's mom, like where you are repressed and you're obsessed with sex and everything, but you just pretend like you hate it and everything. That's creepy. Oh, your dirty pillows. Oh, like it's the worst. Like, and she's I think probably one of the best characters in cinema. And I just always think of her just saying, just Carrie's mom saying, the truth comes out. Your father, he came home. What is it like? So I could smell the whiskey on his breath, and I liked it.
Well, Verhoeven's been criticised for his treatment of actresses, and also, being this film is seen as ultra misogynistic. But you can notice that the majority of his female characters, they're not helpless or in need of saving. Like, Nomi, she is ridiculous, but she doesn't need a man to come and save her. Like, I mean, she kicks the shit out of that guy as a revenge for Molly's rape, and she's not totally in control of her life, but she's making a go of it by herself.
Yeah, she's definitely not helpless.
Well, what do you think of the portrayal of women in this movie and the other movies we've watched?
I think it's really interesting that I'm not sure, like, in regards to the critics, what the problem they have with this movie. Like, are people so out of touch that this doesn't happen? Because, like, men speak to women like this. Like, I wasn't shocked with what Tony Moss was saying, because, like, there's always creepy guys too.
You need to talk to Frank.
No, Frank's the opposite. But there are, like, even when you're growing up, people say weird shit to you.
Right.
Like
inappropriate sort of stuff.
Yeah. Is that too real?
No, not at all. That's
seriously.
Wonderful.
So I don't get it. Like, Tony Moss, I can completely see a guy saying that kind of stuff. I don't think it's far-fetched.
The nudity in it, I think the critics see that straight away as being exploitative. I mean, they see that as just Esterhaus and Verhoeven just, having a good wank session.
I'd be like, have you been to Vegas though? Like the shows are like goddess. It's a weird, like, I couldn't believe one of the best nights I had was going to one of these shows. I just went there and I dragged Katie along. She had a great time, and it's great. It's like it's just weird. It's like burlesque, like with this, sexy sort of Crystal Connors sort of MC, and chicks doing magic, like nude magic and stuff. It's a really hard to describe. So I'm like, have you been to Vegas? Like, Jesus Christ, this is those elements of it.
Wenger said to me who goes to these shows? That's what she said. Now I know. Now I know who goes to these shows. I can say John went to that show.
And Katie went to this show, okay? And it was great.
I think someone should put that Goddess show on. Surely someone's done that.
Oh,
that would make a killing.
Well, I don't know what Vegas thinks of it being represented. Maybe they love it. I don't know.
Astro, didn't you get photos at the end with them?
Definitely. I sent them to you. It sounds like I got photos with the chicks. I was like, come on, Katie.
Hey, how come you didn't send them to me?
I'll track them down. I got all in. No, I loved it. It was just great. Like there's something about it. The huge hotel suites. Like I recognize that indoor where they go to Spargo's, where they sit down and have their little their lunch together. I've been in that hotel, and it's just sort of like, as long as you don't get sucked in and you're there thinking, like, there's a lot of what they don't show in this movie is the people who go to Vegas. They don't show they show the high rollers and stuff or whatever, but they don't show, like, there are just a lot of morbidly obese middle Americans and stuff, like, you know, walking around with these giant those long beaker like slushies.
Oh yeah,
you know, with alcohol in them. And just walking, they're just wandering around like some people in wheelchairs. There's a lot of like lost, fat, gross, old, like ridiculous people.
Disgustos.
There is a lot of disgustos, and they're not represented, you know, and so, which is a shame. You know? So yeah. Now, I think did you have anything to say about the music? Dave Stewart from Eurythmics did some of the music.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really notice much of that.
No, neither did I.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. But I wanted to mention, now, as you know, I'm a bit of a fan of Prince. Now, I did spend quite a bit of time listening to his music. I think for a year, I only listened to Prince. And so I know one of these songs quite well, Rip Hop Go to Zipper. It's actually, it's the one James says he wrote. And I'm like, no, that's the artist formerly known as Prince who wrote that song. It's from an album called, it's not on the soundtrack, and it should be because it's the best song in the film. There's another Prince song called 319 or 319 from the Gold Experience. It's also on here. Now, Rip Hop Go to Zipper is from Crystal Ball. Now, I think Prince is the perfect artist for this movie. Like he has zero grounds to complain. Like Kyle MacLachlan might come out and say, "Oh, you know, it was terrible, and I was in Blue Velvet and whatever." And I'd just say, if Prince said anything, I'd say, "All right, I'm so sorry, Mr. Prince, but you know, your work is brilliant and like incredible, but you also have bad taste as well, and you also have over the top elements and porno chic and inappropriate titties in your movies and stuff, all sorts of stuff. Like, you know, he's got an album and a song called Come, you know, and he puts like porno sounds and stuff. Like, he does all that sort of stuff." Crystal Ball, you know, is actually a Showgirls like in a way. It was a 3-disc album set that came out like in the mid 90s or whatever, and there's a 5 CD version. It is 149 minutes. It's not good, and but it's better than, you know, anything anyone else is doing because he's Prince. But at the same time, it is just interminable and weird, and I feel like, you know, they picked like the best song from that. But that's that song that he does his art show to, Rip Hop Go to Zipper by Prince. You can find it on YouTube and whatnot, and I thoroughly recommend it. Perfect artist for this film.
Well, I just noticed the big production numbers in the Stardust Hotel, which is
maybe Dave Stewart did that music.
I don't know, maybe, but it's
like it's got to come from somewhere.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, I liken it to Oscars music, you know, like when they present awards and stuff. It's always
when they want you to get off stage.
Well, when they want you to get off stage, exactly. Yeah. So it's basically orchestral music with a drum beat behind it, you know.
Yes.
You know, which was fine. I mean, that's kind of the Vegas vibe of the show. So, but you know, I wasn't that blown away by any of the music, to be honest.
Because you were too busy looking at the puss.
I was.
So true. Well, that reminds me. So on the Me Too meter today, look, to be honest with you, a scene by scene analysis of this would take days.
Seriously.
There's too much. So I just have three main charges that just general things that I think, because we've talked about a lot. So heavenly bodies. So once again, we have a celebration of the female beauty as seen by men. Hard bodies, perky bosoms. What message is this sending? Fat and ugly is all we should see on screen. Okay? Don't eat brown rice and vegetables and Evian. They're tools of the patriarchy. That's what I say. Next up, stay in your lane, boys. The key creatives here are cis white men, Verhoeven, Esterhaus, Mario Casar, the producer. As we know, it's not appropriate for men to comment at all about women or their experiences. The ideal world is one where women write women and men don't write at all. So because of this, this is what you get. You get iced up nipples, lap dances, and characters lesing out for something to do. Okay?
Scissoring. Slight scissoring.
That's right. Scissoring. Yeah. March of the Pigmen. The creative team should be applauded because for once we are given a genuine insight into men. Documentary of sorts, Zach James, Al Torres, Tony Moss, Andrew Carver. Men are sleazebags, pimps, rapists, and they're all out to get you, scheming to get you out of your panties just so they can make you their bottom bitch. It's a glorious March of the Pigmen, is what it is. So, we've already been through a lot of what goes on in this movie. What would you rate this out of 10 on our Me Too meter? Oh.
It's got to be 1 million.
Someone needs to break the picket line.
It's got to be 1 million.
It is high, but I think that she does bring it down a little bit.
Okay, so Nomi, you think sort of counteracts some
a little bit.
Some of
the strong sex work. Sex work is real work. Counteracts everything.
She kind of is just like, I'll do what I want. Like, and she's always rushing off the stage if she is offended and if she does get pissed off. Like,
well, I feel like I'll go with 8, and because I like that version of feminism, that second wave feminism of like, I'm in charge and I've got my choices and I do what I want. Whereas there's a different strand of feminism which doesn't like that. It's like, no, you're making the wrong choices, woman. Nomi, you're making the wrong choices. I want you to make the choices I want you to make. And I don't like that. So I reckon about 8. But,
yeah, I'll go with 8.
It's not as villainous as Stripes or some of the other ones. Ricky, you think it cracks 10?
Oh, I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's high, but it's not. I think we've done ones that are higher.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just the girls that just kind of go along with it and don't fight back.
Or where the heroes of the film are also
Mahoney.
the pigmen. Mahoney, yeah. Can I just mention before trivia and reviews, one little bit in the film that I love is when they're rehearsing and that gay choreography guy with the red hair is like, because she's basically doing bridges on her back, like thrusting her pelvis, and he's slapping her ass going, thrust it, thrust it, thrust it.
And the camera's like dollying in on her.
Yeah.
So it's really kinetic. And he's like, thrust it, thrust it, thrust it. That's a classic.
That's so good. All right. Are you guys ready for some trivia?
Yes.
All right. So this is the first and only NC-17 rated film to be given a wide release in mainstream theaters. We've talked about the budget a little bit. The budget was 45 million. It made 37 million. But it made more than 100 million in home video sales and rentals and stuff like that, which is amazing. Esterhaus and Verhoeven, they interviewed over 200 Las Vegas strippers and incorporated parts of their stories in the screenplay.
See, I think that's cool. And I think that gives it a lot more credit.
Yes.
Well, punished though. I feel like they did, I think it's how you package it up, so it's all probably there. But in the end, it doesn't, Basic Instinct was, they probably had 0 consultants and just made that up out of whole cloth. And it didn't really matter, like, because the cinema doesn't care. about your reality. But it's always I think they hid behind that, and it's a shame because authenticity is good. But
it shows intent though. Like they intended to find out what Las Vegas was really like,
But it also undoes them because the argument has always been, what did they intend? Carl McLaughlin says that he says, don't be mistaken, they wanted to make something serious, and whereas Verhoeven, even though he accepted his Razzie, he has said more recently that it was sort of like hyper real, really, German expressionism and stuff. And you just go, well, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So that brings me on to my next trivia point. Verhoeven was the first director to ever turn up to the Razzies, which is the Golden Raspberry Awards. It took out Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, Worst New Star, Worst Screen Couple, and Worst Original Song as well. I've mentioned that Berkeley was dropped by her agent, Mike Menschel, following the film's release, and other agents refused to take her telephone calls. That's brutal.
So rough.
Because how old is she? Like 20 or something?
Yeah, 22 or something.
Oh.
That's fucked up.
The rights to show the film on television were eventually purchased by the VH1 network. Because of the film's frequent nudity, a censored version was created with black bras and panties digitally rendered to hide all exposed breasts and genitalia. Also, several scenes were removed entirely, shortening the movie by at least 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, it's long, I know. But Berkeley refused to redub her lines because MGM refused to pay her the fee of $250. So a noticeably different actress's voice can be heard on the soundtrack. That is shitty. They wouldn't pay her $250 to come in and dub her lines.
So rough.
I mean, if that was a bigger actor, they'd be paying thousands.
I know.
Fucking hell, $250. Jesus, MGM, you've got that money in the bank.
Even I've got that money in the bank.
I know. In 2011, actress Rena Raphael wrote, directed, produced, and starred in an unofficial sequel parody of the film titled Showgirls 2, Pennies from Heaven. She reprises her role as the naive newcomer Penny. The film essentially follows the plot of the original film.
That's mad. That stuff. There's a whole tradition of that sort of American Psycho 2, and these sorts of films where you just go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah. In 2013, an off-Broadway parody called Showgirls the Musical was staged and had actually really big success. Its tagline was singing, dancing, tits.
That should be our...
That should be our tagline. Yes. Well,
that is trivia. If you want to move on to reviews, maybe I've got a little bit to say about reviews. Believe it or not, Ebert actually found some fun in this film. He gave it 2 stars out of 4, and he says the film is not, in short, quite unredeemably bad, and despite its NC-17 rating, it isn't anywhere near as perverted as Basic Instinct. The actors throw themselves into it with the abandon that material like this demands, and Verhoeven brings to it the same skill he once lavished on good movies like The Fourth Man and Total Recall. It's just that you can't believe a single second of it. And you do begin to wish that his research for his next project, Esterhaus, makes it his business to learn something about eroticism. Showgirls is such a waste of a perfectly good NC-17 rating.
It's meant to be anti-erotic, though. He doesn't get it. It's not an erotic film.
I've got some other quotes from his thing here. I actually kind of think some of the comments he says are quite funny. A sleaze fest like Showgirls promises the inside dope on Las Vegas, stripping, hooking, and all that stuff. What Showgirls delivers, however, seems basically to be Joe Esterhaus's masturbatory fantasies.
This is from the guy who wrote the sequel to Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Yeah.
Valley of the Dolls.
Yes. Of Esterhaus, he says his insights into human nature come from Pulp Fiction, and a fear of women palpitates in all his best work. They kill you, but if you're lucky, they'll have sex with you first and maybe put on a lesbo show.
Sounds great. It sounds like good cinema, though.
It does. He says this of Berkeley. She has a fierce energy that's always interesting.
That's true. Actually, I completely agree with that. I know I've slammed her a little bit, but it reminds me of that. I've said it before, I think, as a quote from Kubrick. It was a direction that he gave to Jack. Jack did something on The Shining, and he said, yeah, it's real. He said, of the beat, he said, it's real, but it's not particularly interesting. And Kubrick always focused on interesting performances. And I feel like Berkeley's performance is absolutely interesting. Absolutely.
I've got another quote here. If all lap dancers get as carried away as Nomi does, I'll bet they're consistently seeing a chiropractor about their backs.
Fuck off.
He goes on and on with that sort of stuff. I think he had a great time reviewing Showgirls, New York Times. New York Times says the biggest risk they've taken here is in making a nearly $40 million movie without anyone who can act. The absence of both drama and eroticism turns Showgirls into a bare-butted bore.
Alliteration.
I've got my final quote comes from The Guardian in 2020, actually. And they say, with Showgirls, the target was the American dream itself, and the dishonest Star is Born narratives churned out to sustain it. So they had a bit of a positive review there.
I could see that, and on the intersectional framework, I can see how they would be on board with this film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're losers. So I think, the last thing I want to say about it is just a nod to Mario Kassar, the Lebanese film producer, whose name, whenever I see his name at the beginning of a film, I always sit up in my seat, and it always meant something when I saw Mario Kassar and Andrew Banya. But before a film, I'd be like, or Korolko was their company, and whenever that would appear, I'd be like, I knew something interesting was going to happen, and so stuff they did over the years: First Blood, Rambo, First Blood Part 2, Angel Heart, which is great, Rambo 3, obviously, Red Heat, Total Recall, The Doors. T2, so they didn't do the first Terminator, they did the second one, Basic Instinct, Unisol, Cliffhanger, Heaven and Earth, and they did Stargate as well. So interesting stuff. Again, a bit like the Canon guys, and this is a quote from one of them. I think this is from Andrew Vajna, one of the other producers. He says, "We always work outside the studio system, and the studio for us is just a means, a method of distribution for the product. We like to creatively do the project ourselves and do not do it by committee. Independence is the only way we work." And I think that it's that type of spirit that's given us all the greatest films that we love. From Pulp Fiction, Crash, Basic Instinct. It doesn't really matter what it is. The prime mover of interesting work is big, bold visions, like outrageous risk takers, mavericks, aggressive, unreasonable. They hate the boardroom, fuck the committee. These people make the world interesting, and it would be so fucking boring without them. And cinema would be so fucking boring, which is what it is today. So we need to seek out these people, and somehow get them back in power by supporting their work. Because, if you want the committee, you're going to get Daryl Hannah's butt CG'd out with her hair on Disney Plus. Do you know what I mean? But if you want, we need Dino De Laurentiis, we need Carolco, we need Cannon, we need what's his name? Is it Lawrence Bender, Pulp Fiction and QT's producer and all that. We need these bold visions, to make all this really interesting work. Because, think about it, like, although we laughed at this film, I still think it's fucking better than the shit they make today.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's alive and it's for adults. Fucking hell. How would you even explain to a kid today? You'd just be like, oh, we used to make films. How they make films now sort of for children. Yes, go on. And you go, well, they used to make them for adults. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Before the term adulting was around. Have you heard of this term?
Fuck that.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
I had to go to the post office today. #adulting.
Adulting.
Dumb.
Dreadful stuff.
Do you have any final thoughts? Because I have one.
Ooh.
Give it to me.
Showgirls, a masterpiece of shit, a deep stroke of brilliance.
Best one yet.
That's got everything.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's good. No, I can't top that.
Can we do more quotes?
Oh, have you got quotes? Yeah.
She looks better than a 10-inch dick and you know it.
Is that from that big gross lady?
Yeah. And another line from her, she misses us like that lump on my twat I had taken off last week.
Oh my God.
She
Terrible.
is gross.
Yeah.
Gross. You can't dance. What am I doing? Teasing my dick?
I have that written down too.
Of course you did.
What about the Japanese businessman in The Cheetah who says, in America, everyone's a gynecologist?
Yes. Very interesting quote. You could quote this all day. This
You
movie.
could.
There's too many
And we
good
could talk
lines.
about it all day.
We could. I feel when I actually want to. It made me want to get a 4K copy of it and like screen it. Like I want to experience this movie again and again. I want to show people. I haven't had that impulse in a long time. I used to show movies to people, and I sort of don't do that anymore. I'm a bit of a recluse. And this movie, watching it again, I was like, I want to show this to people. So I think I might do that.
Well, we should do a live one when we are all together.
Sure.
Watch
Absolutely.
it all together.
Yeah.
Do it. Now, are we going to do Basic Instinct?
Yes.
We probably should. If this is going to be a Joe Esterhaus film festival,
Excellent.
we have to do it.
Well, I will attempt to have a critical eye to something I love really well a lot. So yes, next week, Basic Instinct.
I've never seen it.
Great. Excellent. Love it. That's good. That means you're coming fresh.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we said what we said, AJ.
Yeah. I'm good this week.
Okay.
What did I say? They get the rape is on?
Yeah, the rape is on.
The gang rape is on.
Oh, is that what I said?
No, you didn't say
Bit of
that.
like Glenn Frey. The rape is on.
Oh, yeah.
On the
Rape
street.
is on the street.
That cannot be the ending.
Well, I was going to say we said what we said, but then I just said that shit. So, unfortunately, we said what we said.
We
And
do
until
not
next
condone
time.
rape.
We do not. Until next time, long live the new flesh.
Long live the new flesh. Is there something wrong with your nipples? They're not sticking up. Play with them a little. Thrust it, thrust it, thrust it.